Here's an update on the swords. I worked tirelessly on the left sword. I hand carved this entire thing, which took an insane number of hours. So that night I went out and bought a bandsaw and a sander, and I made the other one in about an hour. Turned out great. I love this thick brass guards. Again, I cut them out of a old brass push plate from second use. Haven't polished the brass up yet, but this rosewood is just awesome. The funny thing is, before you put finish on it, it's like pink and purple and all these different colors. As soon as you put finish on it, it immediately goes brown. So what's left, I've got a lot of glue to clean up. I'd like to close that gap a little bit between the swords, although I don't know, we'll see. Polish up all this brass that's all mucky looking. There's a acorn nut that goes on the end, and then a red flag that hangs from that looks pretty cool. These little tinny brass, real thin things are not my fave to deal with, but I went ahead and got them on there pretty good, but I've got a lot of residual glue to scrape off that squeezed out last night. I did decide to go ahead and epoxy the handles on. I don't remember if I mentioned it in the last video or not, but because of the lack of width in the tang, my concern was that the handle would roll on the tang like the old ones did. And so I went ahead and poured some really good West System epoxy down inside under the cap here. This thing comes off, but it's wedged on there pretty good right now. And this baby's ain't going nowhere for the next, I don't know, 80 years of training or so. Of course, these are not hitting swords. Swords built for hitting would have to be made a little bit different. These are just for practice. The case is still in process, but I did color all the white scratches on this, and then I put a couple coats of lacquer on this, and then I hot glued in there, which I'll cut back and so it's hidden and doesn't look shabby like it does now, and polish all the brass. This bit here was poking up above with a bunch of jagged, sharp brass edges, so I just peened them over with a hammer, about 1,000 million hits. That's an actual number, right? And then I poured a little of my extra leftover epoxy down inside, just because the wood in this is kind of broken and stuff. I also just did a thin layer of Titebond 3 under this brass piece that was sliding all around and under the edge of the black bits here, so that stops rolling up and sliding off, and it just gives it a more quality feel. So yeah, yet to come, I'm gonna make a Flemish twist cord to go between these two holes just to look cool out of bright red. I'll polish up all the brass. I'm probably gonna have to chase these threads because they ain't looking so good. And there was originally a nut that went inside of here that held just the wood piece on. Then this slides over, then the acorn nut with the flag on it. So I don't know how I'm gonna do all that yet. Couple more hours worth of work, hopefully. It's been pleasant, but quite the journey so far.